And we're starting off with Brock Lesnar, as during WWE Night of Champions, the Beast Incarnate faced an injured Cody Rhodes in a match that Cody insisted on. There were rumors suggesting that the placement of the match had been changed. Initially, it was supposed to be the opening match of the Saudi Arabian event. According to these rumors, Seth Rollins and AJ Styles were originally set to headline the Night of Champions event. However, the plans were altered, and Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa ended up battling Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. The alleged reason behind this change was to facilitate Seth Rollins' early departure so that he could fulfill his movie commitments. However, recent reports from Fightful Select have revealed the truth of the matter, and according to their findings, there is no evidence to support the rumors that plans were altered for Seth Rollins' movie obligations. It turns out that Seth had already finished filming for the movie before the event took place. He was never scheduled to leave early, so no changes were made to Brock Lesnar's match for that reason. It's been just a couple of days since Lesnar picked up a dominant victory over Cody Rhodes, but now a different Raw superstar wants a piece of the Beast Incarnate overseas. Speaking on my Love Letter to Wrestling podcast, current Intercontinental Champion Gunther spoke about facing Lesnar in the UK and is eager to make the match happen. He said, "I don't think we needed to have lots of action going on with him. Get into a little scuffle and stuff. Just the moment and the crowd reaction for that, it was all I needed. Just see how people, on the internet, you read stuff and people get easily excited, but often the hype from online doesn't translate to the venue. When that happened, I was like, compared to the US, especially in England, people understand competition. They tend to look at the match and take it as a competition and then emotionally react to it, rather than expecting the fireworks right away." It was in late 2022 that reports first came out that WWE was planning Lesnar vs. Gunther for WrestleMania 39, and while that didn't happen, the two briefly faced off during this year's Men's Royal Rumble. Gunther has been open about his desire to face Lesnar for some time, even describing the Beast as the end boss. And do you want to see this match take place? Let us know in the comments. From one former Universal Champion to another, as Braun Strowman is out with an injury which will keep him out of action for the foreseeable future. This is the latest setback for Braun, who suffered a concussion in late April and hasn't competed on TV since May 1st, and the latest update isn't good for the monster among men. PW Insider reports that Strowman was recently spotted in Birmingham, Alabama, which will only add fuel to the belief that he will require surgery. Birmingham is the location of the Andrews Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center, which is frequented by WWE talent, with everyone from John Cena to Triple H to Cody Rhodes having surgery there. With Strowman being in Birmingham, all signs are pointing to the monster among men needing surgery, and if so, it'll be many months before we see him back in the ring. The Andrews Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center is a very famous orthopedic surgery center, and Braun will be in good hands if he has to have surgery, but it may be a long time yet before we see him back in the ring. To many, Ron Simmons' career is summed up by one word: damn! But outside of his monosyllabic catchphrase, the former Farouk had an incredible career. Part of the Nation of Domination, Doom, and the APA, Simmons became the first black WCW World Heavyweight Champion in August 1992, and now his career is going to be celebrated. The Cauliflower Alley Club has named Simmons their 2023 Lou Thez Award honoree, celebrating his lifetime achievements both in wrestling and outside of the ring. The CAC was founded in 1965 and has been celebrating wrestlers, athletes, and actors who made major contributions to their respective fields. So it's only fitting that Ron Simmons takes his spot this year. And what is your favorite moment from Ron's career? It was at Clash of the Castle last September that Dominic Mysterio turned heel, betraying his father and Edge and aligning himself with the Judgment Day. Mysterio has been working especially closely with Rhea Ripley since then, and this week, the SmackDown Women's Champion had plenty of praise for her dom-dom. Speaking to Sports Illustrated, Ripley talked openly about working with Dominic and believes there is much more to the young superstar than what fans are willing to admit. She said, "Seeing Dom's growth in the past few months has been incredible. He's paving his own path. That's really inspiring to me. I don't think people give him the credit he deserves." Dominic has gone from being known as the plucky son of Rey Mysterio to a constant heat magnet whenever he's on TV. And what do you think is next for him in WWE? Prior to joining the Judgment Day, Dominic was repeatedly attacked by Rhea, and he isn't the only male superstar to feel her wrath. Ripley has repeatedly proven that she can quite literally manhandle the guys, and now the SmackDown Women's Champion is ready to take things to the next level. In a recent interview with Fox 61, the Judgment Day's Eradicator was asked about WWE allowing intergender wrestling, and while she isn't too sure it'll be approved, she is open to the idea. She said, "I'm not too sure, so for me, I would like to see it just for the pure fact that I also love beating up the men. I love showing them exactly who I am and proving my dominance. And it's a different kind of excitement for me because you get to see the fear in their eyes when they realize that they've taken you lightly. Like, they didn't take you as a threat to begin with. So I hope so, for me, but I'm not too entirely sure what the future holds." Ripley has already handled the likes of Akira Tozawa and Luke Gallows and has teased a showdown with Solo Sikoa in the past. In the interview, Ripley even said that Seth Rollins is in her sights, noting that the World Heavyweight Champion will get what's coming to him after putting his arm around her on this week's Raw. While WWE does allow some intergender wrestling, it's incredibly rare in the promotion. And do you think there should be more intergender wrestling in WWE? Let us know in the comments. At Double or Nothing, Chris Jericho and Adam Cole battled in an unsanctioned match, which also featured Extreme Wrestling legend Sabu. In one early spot of the match, Sabu dived onto Angelo Parker and Matt Menard, with all three men going through a table, but this spot was too far for Jim Cornette. During his drive-thru podcast, Cornette pointed out that Sabu has had multiple health issues, is in his 50s, and has had life-threatening issues, and felt that the spot should not have taken place. Cornette added that Tony Khan, a long-term wrestling fan, was probably sat backstage and loving what he was seeing, and predicted that TK just wanted to rewatch a spot he'd seen in his childhood and wasn't at all worried about Sabu's health. Cornette went on to say that when he brought in Jackie Fargo for events in the Louisville Gardens, he didn't ask him to take any bumps through tables, despite Fargo being probably in much better shape than Sabu is in right now. Sabu's involvement with AEW recently has had a mixed response, with some being pleased to see him, and others questioning why exactly he's been added to the story between Adam Cole and the Jericho Appreciation Society, and what do you think of the table spot at Double or Nothing? From the moment Stephanie McMahon turned heel in late 1999, the billion-dollar princess wasted no time in sticking it to babyfaces on TV. Who can forget Stephanie's on-again, off-again issues with Chris Jericho, or her reign of terror with The Authority? But did McMahon go too far? Speaking to Muscle Man Malcolm, former WWE star Caitlyn recalled a segment in 2014 with Stephanie in which the WWE exec started listing off a bunch of women as bad and felt it was simply unnecessary. Caitlyn went on to say that Stephanie started belittling the roster with no reason, and at the time, Stephanie received no comeuppance for her actions. Ironically, Stephanie has been positioned by WWE as one of the figureheads of the women's revolution, which would begin in earnest in 2016, but as far as Caitlyn is concerned, McMahon was more than fine putting women down as she was pushing them up. For years, Dark Side of the Ring has covered the seedy underbelly of professional wrestling, with everything from the plane ride to hell to the tragic passing of Owen Hart being covered. Of course, when you think of wrestling controversies, you think of Vince McMahon, and the chairman would certainly make for an interesting topic for an episode or two. McMahon has overcome litigation from the federal government, the threat of WCW, and even the recent hush money scandal, but fans eager to see an episode about him will be waiting for a while. While speaking with Connor Casey on Comic Book Nation, Dark Side of the Ring executive producer and co-creator Evan Husney claimed that a Vince episode would take years to unpack and work. It's funny to see on social media, I do get a kick out of it. When something controversial happens in the modern age of wrestling, you instantly get the dark side memes. That's fun. The way that I look at these modern stories, with most of the stories we cover on the show, there is the benefit of hindsight, or so much time has gone by the story is done. The story is finished, so we can really get into it and try to unpack it. These stories that pop up in the last year or two, those are stories that are not really done being told. I think we might have to wait a few years, maybe more, before we can really dive in and unpack and truly understand every aspect of that story. Dark Side of the Ring's 4th season recently premiered with an in-depth look at the lives of Chris Candido and Tammy Sytch, and though a McMahon episode would be interesting, don't expect one anytime soon. Last weekend, AEW hosted its Double or Nothing pay-per-view, but the show hasn't been a runaway success by any stretch of the imagination. Not only did the show struggle to sell seats, with dozens if not hundreds of seats going unfilled, but a viral video showing a fan watching NXT Battleground has proven to be embarrassing for the company. On this week's NXT, the Gold brand poked fun at Double or Nothing's shortcomings, but what do those in AEW think about the show? On Twitter, Mike Mansury, AEW's Senior Vice President, Co-Executive Producer, said that he is proud to be part of the AEW team and was disappointed to hear some of the shots taken at Double or Nothing. Mansury didn't mention the shots taken during this week's NXT, but instead said that the negative feedback can be seen as motivation to do better in the future. Interestingly, despite the fan-watching battleground at Double or Nothing, Dave Meltzer reports that the show's clashing did NXT no favors, and those he has spoken to said that viewership was significantly down from the usual numbers for an NXT major event. There is nothing that AEW can do about Double or Nothing now except learn from the issues some fans had with the show. And what do you think of Tony Khan's latest pay-per-view? To many, Will Ospreay is one of the very best wrestlers competing right now and has had major success in the industry despite never competing for WWE. Despite never being part of the biggest wrestling promotion on the planet, Ospreay has made a major name for himself and is okay with the possibility of never being a superstar. Speaking to Chris Van Vliet of Insight, Ospreay explained that in 2016 he received multiple offers from many promotions, including WWE, but ultimately decided to remain loyal to New Japan. Ospreay's reasoning at the time is that with New Japan, he had the chance to go home regularly, something he feels would not have been possible with the other companies, especially WWE. Will made it clear that he's fine if he never wrestles at a WrestleMania, as being famous was never a motivator for him in wrestling, but he just enjoys what he does and enjoys being paid for it. The WWE way of life isn't for everyone, but Will Ospreay still has time to make that decision if he decides to become a superstar. But until then, the British star is very happy with what he's doing right now. In less than 4 weeks, AEW Fight Forever will finally be released, close to 3 years after the game was first announced. Right now, fans are eagerly learning of which characters will be playable in the game, but one veteran of the ring will be kept as a special pre-order bonus. If fans pre-order the AEW Fight Forever Elite Edition, not only will they receive the game on June 28th, a day early, but they will also receive the pre-order bonus of Matt Hardy, plus a broken Matt Hardy attire. The Elite Edition will also include the Season 1 pass of DLC, which will include FTR, The Bunny, Keith Lee, Hook, Danhausen, and 4 mini-games, and we imagine plenty of fans and gamers will be pre-ordering the Elite Edition of Fight Forever. And we're ending with Maxxine Dupri, who was called up to WWE's main roster last year as the on-screen sister of Max Dupri, aka LA Knight, and would quickly replace her brother as the manager of the Maximum Male Models. More recently, Dupri has been managing Otis as she appears to be smitten with the Alpha Academy powerhouse, but the fashion mogul has plans on stepping in the ring herself. While speaking on Ryan Satin's Out of Character podcast, Maxxine spoke about her fibula injury, which has prevented her from competing, and spoke about being a superstar. She said, "I'm cleared, training in ring, everything's good, we're healthy, I'm trying to live in the moment. I'm so happy and so content with my character and storylines, I'm having so much fun. I obviously would love to get a little physicality going, but I also want to really take in every single moment. I'm never going to get this time back, so I'm just enjoying it, and when that time comes, I will be so excited." Maxxine Dupri was an alternate for this year's Women's Royal Rumble match, but did not need to be used for the bout, and time will tell when we get to see her show her skills in the squared circle.